This time, I chose to highlight, in my opinion, one of the most exciting cases of entrepreneurship, which display not only persistency and entrepreneurial spirit, but also a lot of interesting factors to scrutinize, such as how prior experience helped shape new ventures, as well as opportunity recognition. So the story is about a fellow named Howard Schultz. And if you haven't guessed it already, he is the mastermind behind the worldwide success Starbucks Coffee. So our story begins at the Northern Michigan University, where he received his bachelor's degree in communications. This degree would later be well put to use. And a few years later, after his graduation, Howard started working at a Swedish company where he was selling home appliances, such as coffee grinders, to businesses like Starbucks. Once Schultz discovered that this little company in Seattle orders a lot more machines than some popular stores, Howard was intrigued and decided to meet the owners of Starbucks. A very impressed 29-year-old Schultz became so fascinated about this small company that he quit his job and he was begging for a job at Starbucks. He showed persistency when he called the director Jerry Baldwin multiple times, and Schultz was trying to persuade him that the company was capable of expanding the concept and opening more coffee stores. But Baldwin thought that expansion like that might kill the Starbucks spirit. So after long discussions, a compromise was reached, and Schultz said, "Well, let's do it all gradually in your usual pace, but let's also create something truly significant." The day after, Schultz became the marketing director at Starbucks. Later, Howard went to Milan and got some inspiration. He later introduced the concepts of the cappuccino and the latte, which would triple Starbucks sales over the next year. The Italian cafes amazed Schultz, and it was not just the coffee store, but a place for social meetings and leisure. Schultz was thinking of a totally new concept, much like the Italian cafes, and later proposed that Starbucks should focus on creating a network of coffee houses. But the CEO of Starbucks did not feel the same. The founders believed that such a strategy would cause their shop to lose its personality. And what we could see here could be explained by Dimov. He argues that the development of a new venture is dependent on how the entrepreneur perceives the opportunity. In this sense, in order to be persistent in pursuing that very same opportunity, it requires a certain amount of confidence by the entrepreneur in the feasibility as well as the operability of the emerging opportunity. He also stresses the fact that the perceived feasibility of the opportunity is individual specific, and this means that the different individuals with different knowledge and attitudes towards an uncertain opportunity will most likely have different views on the feasibility. This could explain how Schultz saw an opportunity while the founders did not. Schultz also acknowledged the fact, saying that an experience he had that probably 1,000 people would have walked by. But it was just a small twinkle of what he saw in the window of that store in Italy that he had to investigate further. Diamantopoulos adds on this by arguing that an increased effectiveness in the opportunity recognition means that the entrepreneur has gained useful information in order to identify and value the opportunity. This means that prior experience Schultz had enabled him to make association and linkages that may have never been considered before. Taking the social aspect, which he may have learned from his studies in communications, and connecting it to the arts and craft of the Italian coffee store that he stumbled upon in his trip to Milan, and later applying it to the Starbucks brand. Supposedly, Schultz took a bunch of pictures of menus, video filmed and observed the experience and processes of buying coffee in the Italian shops, and sat down with an Italian coffee expert to learn more about the craft. The idea of drinking coffee out interested Schulz to the point that he quit his job from Starbucks and opened his own business, Il Giornale. And a year later, the owners of Starbucks were going to sell their concept and brand, including the stores and the roasting factory. And they announced a price of 4 million. And Schulz, being successful with his own business, immediately went to his creditors, persuading him to give him a new loan. The loan was granted, and Howard Schulz became the only owner and manager at Starbucks. And the rest is history. So the moral of the story is to explore new opportunities and possibilities and connect the dots that you have in your own life. And maybe you can create something in the same way Howard Schulz did. Thanks for listening.